team number 4, and we are presenting on Wells Fargo. So to introduce, Wells Fargo is one of the most well-known banking chains in the United States. It has been known for a lot of things like customer service, integrity of employees, but in September 2016, they admitted to creating millions of accounts in the names of their current clients with other permissions. These were bank accounts, credit card accounts, additional savings accounts, and banks, all of these end up getting additional charges to their customers. So this was seen as a major breach of not only ethical rules, but of the integrity and relationship that they had with a lot of their customers. A lot of people ended up leaving the banking chain, and they lost a lot of money over it. 3 years later, they are still working to repair the damages. More accounts are being found regularly, and lots of money has been lost to their clients. So we wanted to figure out how unethical corporate practices could have gone unchecked for so long. It's estimated that this was going on for at least 5 years, if not longer. And that brings us to our problem.
Okay, so the environment in these branches was the cause of these fake accounts. So through the interviews and the research that we did, we figured out that it's just the intense, sales-oriented environment that they created. A sense of urgency and pressure from upper management to reach unrealistic sales goals. People would go to great lengths, even to the point of making fake accounts to keep their job. Okay, and the first person that I interviewed was actually my sister. She was a teller in Provo a couple years ago. This is a quote that she said. So she said, absolutely, every customer we helped, we were required to ask if they wanted to open a savings account or get a credit card. Our goal was to get the customer to sit with the banker. I remember in training, I had to watch videos in the downstairs of the bank for a week. The first part was on customer safety, account safety, but the majority was on training, which I found kind of weird. I was very uncomfortable being pushy and trying to make sales. The banker didn't go to the extent of video of trying to bring customers to them, but there was that feeling of pressure from management to reach sales goals. So obviously right away, that's very fishy that the training was mostly on sales. And then another guy oriented I interviewed was my dad. He was actually a mortgage rep. And he said, no, I wouldn't say fishy, but there was definitely a sense of urgency and aggressiveness to get sales. I knew a lot of really good guys that I worked with that got fired because they didn't reach their sales. And then just a couple other quotes, not that I know of, but it didn't surprise me that it happened. This is when I asked him what he thought when the news came out. He says, banks are highly competitive, especially Wells Fargo. So for someone to survive in that industry, I can see how that happens. I never really realized how sales-oriented it was until I left. From the minute you walk into the door, the sales reps are seeing what you want, the teller, they're trying to sit down with the banker. Everyone is trying to get a sale out of you. Even when you call customer service, they might ask you, while I'm pulling this up, do you mind if I tell you all the ways you can better your finances? So something very subtle, but in the end, they're trying to get a sale out of you. And one interesting thing that my dad said, he said, you can make several accounts without putting any deposits in them. So when he worked at a different company called Edward Jones, the goal was to get as many accounts as possible. And then I guess that's the way they kind of figured out how to make these fake accounts, is just not putting money in them and saying that they had an account through them. And then as you can see from the interviews conducted, both branches from different states were very similar in that sales was the main goal. These banks are highly competitive, that the employee would go to these extremes just to survive in the industry. The sales-oriented environment is not only unhealthy for the employee, but it is not a good way to run business.
So, like my teammate said, part of the issue was Wells Fargo had this high-stress environment. And this caused them to feel they needed to cheat to keep their jobs. In our text, it says when goal accomplishment is rewarded, employees will have two basic options: work hard to reach the goals or cheat. And so the issue with this is the sales goals were not created effectively. Goals can be a good thing. They can be used to motivate and help people to become better. But oftentimes, if they're too pressure-filled, it can cause people to cheat, which is what we saw in the case of Wells Fargo. So one of the things we would recommend to create a better working environment is through performance appraisals. Our text says that raters observe, interact with, and evaluate a person's performance. So to sum that up, it's basically when your boss sits down and will have an interview with you and be able to tell you what you've done right, what you've done wrong, and give you feedback. It's very good, if done correctly, in allowing the employee to learn and correct their mistakes and then also reach new heights as an employee. There's three things that research has shown make performance appraisals beneficial, and that is one, adequate notice, so that way you're not just springing it upon your employee. Two would be fair hearing, so it's two-way communication. It's not just the boss lecturing, but it's something that is a fluid conversation between the two. And last is judgment based only on evidence, so you're not just assuming something, you're making sure that when you tell them what to do or how to correct something or give them praise, there's evidence to back that. Another way to improve the work environment was through using correct sales goals. Wells Fargo, part of the issue was they had such a high stress environment that it was very much if you didn't meet your goals, you got no reward and oftentimes lost your job. That's what we found in conducting our interviews with agents and other things. And so one of the things we would recommend is using multi-level sales structure. So rewards will correspond with the level of that they produce as far as sales goes. And so this will help employees to feel rewarded in what they're doing, and it allows them to work for something as well. They don't feel that pressure having to meet such an unrealistic expectation.
So decision making means the process of selecting the best choices among various options. Every person has to make many decisions on a daily basis, and the decisions range from simple ones such as what to eat, where to go out for fun, to be complicated like for a top-level manager or a big company. Decision making is another story because his decision can influence hundreds of other employees' lives and can even change the course of a company. So a few types of decision-making techniques. The first one is nominal group technique. This tool helps and makes sure that everyone in the department is involved and knows what's happening. The second one is Delphi technique. It's a group, a process using a written response to a series of questionnaires instead of physically bringing individual decisions together. So the third one is tree technique. Is also very helpful to avoid a situation like being held for fraud or losing clients or customers. So ways to improve, making sure they involve everyone the next time they are making a big decision. Solve the problem, involving everyone in the team, listing their options down and knowing their end-term goal without fraud included.
So, in conclusion, the environment that Wells Fargo cultivated was one of unethical choices and high stress. Employees felt such pressure to meet their unrealistic sales goals that it caused them to create those fraudulent accounts. So moving forward, Wells Fargo needs to focus on creating a motivating and ethical work environment, and then also just making better decisions. To create a motivating and ethical work environment, they can hold performance appraisals and also have a leveled sales format. And to make better decisions, they can use one of three techniques. There's the nominal group technique, the Delphi technique, and also a decision tree. And we believe that if Wells Fargo implements these recommendations, they're going to gain back the trust of not only their employees, but also their customers, and they won't ever again have to face another scandal like this.
And with that, I know these things can be costly, but Wells Fargo, with having lost so much trust from their customers, these would truly help be able to shape Wells Fargo's culture for the future and allow employees to become better and reach reach their goals more effectively.